Harry's Wife, Part 102.25, Family Exclusion. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Narcissists regularly exclude members of their family, and sometimes whole sections of their family, because it suits their purposes to do so. Particular narcissists, often seen as social climbers, who have got a leg up in society in terms of standing, status, and money, may well have come from humble roots, may have come from perhaps less desirable circumstances, living on the wrong side of the tracks, criminal members of the family, people in and out of prison, having an unsavoury reputation in the neighbourhood. All of that is a threat to control of the status of the narcissists as they clamber out of the swamp and advance themselves. Often, members of their family are simply rough diamonds, decent enough people, but they live in a common way. Yet, the aspiring narcissist who has scrambled away from them, has latched onto some society figure or some titan of industry as a consequence of doling out the blowjobs or jiggling the old boobies, has resulted in them getting into the rarefied atmosphere of status and wealth, and they don't want to be reminded from whence they came. And to that end, the narcissist, exhibiting no emotional empathy for their family members, no accountability for them, acting with a sense of entitlement, acts as if they don't exist. And of course, in effect, when they're not thinking of them, they don't. But unfortunately for that narcissist, and particularly one that is famous, there are repeated reminders of family and extended family that cause problems with regard to the narcissist's own perception of them being far better than the people that they are related to, and they essentially wish that they don't exist. Before I get into more about the way that Harry's wife is engaged in this family exclusion, it behooves me to make mention of a thread that appeared on the excellent Reddit site, St. Harry's Wife. As you know, they use her full name, I don't say it, and they have an entertaining avatar of the candle, Harry, and Harry's wife being obscured by said candle. A post by posted by Bit North of 40. Yesterday, YouTube channel HG Tudor, knowing the narcissist featured and credited, posts from this community, which he calls St. Harry's Wife, refusing to say her name, as source material for at least 2 videos, a video on Uvalde and a video on nasty behaviour in general. I love hearing the community's boots on the ground knowledge and opinions spread to a wider audience. And I'm pleased to say that there are people that are familiar with my work who've also commented on Reddit. Dependent aside, 9750, there's another channel that all they do is quote this community. I quit watching it. HG adds his own content to, though, so I watch his sometimes. Da Binge Girl, his videos are awesome. I can't decide if I agree with him about Charles being a narcissist, but he's made me feel extremely bad for William. He deals with so many narcissist entitled people in his family. I love how he calls her Harry's wife. Dixie and Callie, yes, he quoted one of my comments, I nearly died. Well, Dixie and Callie, if you're listening, you may well have almost died again. Mandy Alamode, 32, HG Tudor calling Harry ginger bollocks, gets me every single time. Brisby Dog, I listen to HG all day at work, and I keep listening to see if I get a shout out. But there you are, Brisby Dog, you have. Trish196609, I heard HG refer to this subreddit, so interesting. The material that one finds in this thread is properly credited by me, but it is a useful opportunity to look at information that might not necessarily be found in the mainstream media. And of course, as always, I invite people to gauge it with their own standard of veracity. But it's helpful to have this aired in order to demonstrate more facets of her narcissism. And of course, it behooves me to acknowledge the Redditors that contribute to it. And, in so doing, I turn to another post of theirs, which was from Summer's Wifey a few days ago, querying, why do we not hear from this side of the family? And the picture that's shown, that forms part of my thumbnail, is this is an example of racism, having a £32 million wedding and inviting none of these people. And one therefore assumes that the people shown are all extended members of the Raglan side of the family, given that they are black people, and Let's see what the comments are about this exclusion. Sketchy Norman comments, the wedding was the first time that an inkling of doubt started to creep in. Having no other family or friends in the main pews apart from Doria seemed very, very strange indeed, especially given the scale of the occasion. All right, there was some weird business with her father going on. I didn't really follow stuff like that back then, so that excused him, but literally no other family or friends, very odd. I'll also say that it seemed quite cruel from Harry's wife to have her mother there all alone with no one to support her. I was surprised at the very least Harry's wife didn't arrange for Doria to have a lady's companion to be with her to support and look after her during the service. I'm sure Doria would have appreciated the company. And indeed, that's right. Aunt Hattie states, pure racism, in my opinion. She turned her back on her nearest and dearest to swan about in a sea of white on the world stage. It could have been a joyous wedding, with both sides of her family welcomed and in attendance. It would have been a memory of a lifetime for them. She denied her loved ones that experience, knowing, in my opinion, that they wanted it and were looking forward to it. She's a C word for sure, edited for a better word. Now, quite simply, Harry's wife didn't invite them because her narcissism dictated that they weren't needed. These family members, uncles, aunts, cousins, second cousins, are all non-intimate secondary sources. Now, in some instances, people have to say to extended members of the family, can't invite you, we can only afford to have so many guests, and what we've therefore decided is that in order not to offend people, it's basically very closest family only and a couple of friends. And then you can all come to the evening do. That is something that commonly occurs. That's being done for financial reasons. Here, the wedding wasn't paid for by Harry's wife. The cost was being met by Prince Charles, I think partly the Queen, and also the British taxpayer with regard to security costs. And of course, there were hundreds of guests there, including those very close friends of hers, George and Amal Clooney, who basically said, no, never met her, don't know her, but we've turned up anyway. So there's quite simply a number of the so-called famous people, the fashionable set, needn't have been invited, and they could have been dropped, Oprah, the Beckhams, etc., and family invited instead. Indeed, I'm sure all could have been accommodated. But of course, Harry's wife narcissism dictated, I'm on the world stage now, so let's ensure that I invite people that I deem myself to be a peer of. Her narcissism deludes her to that extent, so that what she does is she thinks Clooney's great friends of mine. Oprah, close personal friend. The Beckhams, always thought he's a brilliant footballer, really like her for Sean, they're close personal friends of mine. And with no boundary recognition, and of course no sense of shame, she invites these people who she's never met, don't know her, and have no connection to her. Of course, her narcissism is thinking, we get those people, that's good for the facade. It gets people talking, which is good for fuel and assertion of control. And also, there is the potential of leverage of character trait acquisition from all of these people and segueing into potential residual benefits. So these people who we've had nothing to do with, because they're famous and rich and well-known, are far more important. Whereas family, they can get fucked. What do they bring? They're not famous, they haven't got any money. They'll probably start brawling with one another or start drinking from the finger bowl and embarrass our narcissist. No, we'll instruct our narcissist Harry's wife, ditch them, they're not needed. And if anybody complains about it, well, just don't respond or we'll come up with some excuse for her to dismiss them. The fact is that not only did she not have anybody from her father's side of the family there, the white side, but on the black side, for someone who's supposedly a champion of black rights, of biraciality, other than her mother, who, as this Redditor had pointed out, had to sit on her own, nobody else was invited. So if she's such a champion of those black rights, why were there not more black people invited by her? Of course, she has the black pastor with his crazy sermon, but that's because it's all about how that looks, about the facade management, about the provocation associated by it. But quite simply, she doesn't want her family there because her narcissism dictates that they add nothing, and therefore they are excluded. And because she has no emotional empathy for them, because she acts with a sense of entitlement, she, like many narcissists, will quite readily exclude family because they are not fit for purpose. There is no concept of loyalty to them. There is no concept of, but they are family. The narcissism purely looks at them in terms of cost-benefit analysis. Can we control you? Yes, we can control you by keeping you on the shelf. Do we need fuel from you? No. Do we need character traits from you? Good Lord, no. Do you have any residual benefits? No. Therefore, you are of no worth to us to be invited. Therefore, we don't need to assert control over you by inviting you. We can assert control over you by not inviting you and ignoring you. The Clooneys. Do we need to assert control over you? Yes, we'll invite you. Can we gain fuel from you? Yes. Character traits? Ooh, absolutely. Residual benefits? Ooh, absolutely. Get them on the list. The Beckhams? Ditto. Oprah? Ditto. Elton John, if he attended, I can't quite remember. Ditto. And so it goes on. Family will be excluded for these reasons because they don't serve a purpose, and a narcissist such as Harry's wife, who other people would see as a social climber, as she moves herself into those upper echelons, her narcissism dictates you don't need your family. That's why Thomas has been cast to one side. He was useful while he was paying for stuff. He was useful while he was buying her cars and paying her for her tuition, getting her acting gigs. But now that she's moved on to big and better things, she doesn't need him. And hence, because she has no emotional empathy for him, even when he's unwell, there's no calls, there's no visits, he's cast to one side. The typical behaviour of a narcissist engaging in familial exclusion. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.